see myself or I see my screen and I heard it. So I must be live. Let me check also Facebook because this is the first time that I was able to figure out how to be live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So let me just check Facebook to see if I'm actually coming through over there before I get started. Let me see. Am I live over there? Yeah, I'm live. So it's working, but it's private. So let me go ahead and change this to being for friends. And then, okay. So I'm live everywhere. I'm going to do my best to sort of guard and watch the comments. But I'm paying for all these extra little gadgets, and it's about time that I'm able to actually use them. So welcome. If you're watching the recording, thank you so much for being here. And this is a topic that I'm very excited to share because so much I gotta say. And I took some extra time to really organize my thoughts and the things I wanted to share today. So I know on Instagram I said I would be live at 2 o'clock, but it's like almost 3 o'clock and I'm late. But I'm not late, I'm on time. I'm on time. So let me just check Instagram and maybe let the music. I don't know if it's gonna play again, but yeah, probably won't. Let me check Instagram. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Today's topic is the subverting and syncretism of gods. Um, and I know those are, some interesting words, but I'll get into what those words mean as we talk about what has been presented. But I'm going to be getting into love and lust, God and dog. And so we're going to start with there's some music. All right. So this is the agenda and the topic. It's going to all make sense. But after that, I'll get into the love versus lust, then into the TLC minus the original L. And so basically, the L has been subverted or changed, inverted, subverted, and flipped, right? And then I'm going to connect that to Usher. And then lastly, we're not going to end this conversation without sharing what we can do. But let me get my pillow from my back, actually, because I'm going to be sitting here for a minute and I need to be comfortable. Okay, so that might be a little better. Whew. All right, so I burned some sage and we're gonna start with just some deep breaths. And this is for me as well as the message, but it will be good for you because this ties into the 7 channels. So I am Yennefer, and I am the creator of 7 Channels TV. And these are my 7 channels that I speak through. These 7 channels are synonymous with the 7 chakras, the 7 planets, and the 7 days of the week. And I was told that this would be my work years and years ago, and it didn't make much sense. I've talked about how you guys have seen me here, there, and everywhere doing this, that, and the other. And it didn't, the entire thing didn't come together until very recently. So I had another Saturn return this my most recent birthday, and it really brought with it some um, light and some summation of the things that I've been working on over the past 2 Saturn cycles. So today is Sunday, and it is the day that I consider the crown. And I share on my podcast on this day, which is the 5th iteration podcast. All right, so welcome in. Hi. Please drop a comment if you're watching on YouTube or if you are on Facebook. I finally was able to connect my Facebook with my to connect the Facebook streaming to go at the same time as the YouTube streaming. If you're on Zoom with me, you could see me. When I'm looking at it, it doesn't show that you can see me. You only see my screen. Let me make sure that this live, I don't think it's, okay. All righty. All righty, all righty. So that is one of the announcements. So I want to let you know, so if you would like to join in on any of the other channels when I'm speaking through them, please see the screen. We are reading a book in the book club right now. Also, I put my yoga content on Patreon. I just did that yesterday. So Yin Yang Yoga will be on Patreon. Yin Yang Yoga is back, y'all. Circa 2012. Yeah, circa 2012. That was 12 years ago. Wow. The number of divinity. So yeah, Yin Yang Yoga is on Patreon. You can get that should say your wellness as well. You should get the workbook. And then Yin Yang Yoga is actually on Patreon. And also my content for the sacral chakra, which is called Sacredly Sexy, is being released on YouTube right now. All right. So more on the book club. Welcome back to another listening of excerpts. This is the book that I posted this week, Remembering Ourselves Home by Tokopa Turner. So I posted a excerpt of the book, but you can check that out. So let's go ahead and get into today's topic, which I'm so excited about. All right, so let's go back to story time. Okay, let's go back to story time. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and hopefully you will see me now so I can do the story time. Let me see. Yes, there I am. So here's the story time, you guys. Whew, where do I even start? Okay, so let's just start with last week's episode. So last week's episode, I went live. The title of the episode was Is God a Radio? And it was really a response to a previous broadcast that I watched. In that broadcast, I used and referenced excerpts from the book The Great Cosmic Mother. And let me just play that video for you. Matter of fact, let me do that right now. Let's see. Okay. Which, all right, here it is. "3 hours ago, Billy Carson at Forbidden Knowledge released the Epic of Gilgamesh, and look what I was doing also." Talks is referring to the Gilgamesh, the Epic of. All right, so I talked about
The Epic of
basically how when you show up on time, okay, when you show up on time, when these are the things that happen. So what I want to share and teach is show you how to get in sync with divine time. I was on air and I was talking about, is God a radio, and or responding to it, and basically referencing this book called The Epic of Gilgamesh, or this sacred text, this old story, The Epic of Gilgamesh. And I referenced that story and what was Billy Carson doing at the same time, releasing a video on the Epic of Gilgamesh. So that was really, it's just funny, and it's how that happens sometimes when things just align like that. So I'm not going to get into last week's topic so much because it's pretty in depth. So I hope that you watch it. If not, go back and watch it. But we are going to connect what we're talking to the Epic of Gilgamesh. We're going to get there. Um, so now we can get into story time. All right, so that's what happened last week. Let's get into story time. All right, so the story time this week, how my week has been. So I was just pondering on last week, and I listened to a song that I used to love, love, love. I used to love this song, Baby, Baby, Baby by TLC. I was like in middle school, I believe, when this song came out, maybe sixth grade or something. And this was the beginning of my sort of listening to music on my own, not that wasn't religious, that wasn't choir music that we had to sing in the choir. TLC was the very beginning of that. I was probably like 12 when that song came out, maybe. And I love the song. If you listen to the lyrics of that song, it's talking about how much love she has for herself, but also she's embracing her sexuality. So her love is not separate from her sexuality in that song. Okay, if you listen to the lyrics, baby, 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 I got so much love in me. Baby, 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 I got so much love in me. Baby, baby. So if you're gonna get me off, you got to love me deep. So that's how the song goes. Now, at the time, of course, when I was that age, I did not know what she was talking about. Now, as an adult, I do know exactly what she's talking about, right? She's talking about her sexuality and her love, and that they're not two separate things. And so that song is like a theme song. It's like a theme song. So I was listening to it and some other songs in their album. And, I thought about the L in TLC. And I also thought about how so many things have changed just in the music industry and the type of music that's pushed out for us, for society, the new R&B, and just how degrading things have become over the, past 20 years. And I thought about it and something came to me. Something came to me. The L, so TLC means tender loving care, right? Out before TLC took and adopted the name, right? It stood for tender loving care, right? But they changed that to mean, T-Boz, left eye, and Chilli. So left eye, right? Left eye, she died. She died. And let's think about her name, left eye. All right. Her name, left eye, she has an eye, right? So that she can see the left. She has the eye to see the left. So when you think of this sort of left versus right theme that we see, also the left brain versus the right brain that we hear about, okay? The right side of the brain is associated with the feminine, or the right is associated with the feminine aspect, right? The left side is associated with more of the masculine, right? And where we really should be is at a whole brain level. That's where we should be. And perhaps maybe that's where some of us are, right? But there is sort of this separation between the left and the right. And so left eye symbolized having this eye for the left. Okay, so in a way, TLC, they represented the feminine, they represented love, and they sort of represented a holistic being more whole. Like love wasn't separate from sexuality. Okay. And she dies. So that L, right? Tender love, that love started to be subverted into lust. Okay. So this is what came to me. I was driving in a car one day, this whole love versus lust thing. And it had me thinking, more about duality and also just duality in general. So I started to think about gods and dogs and this connection between gods and dogs. And, dog is God spelled backwards. And I wanted to know, like, what is this significance of even dogs in our reality? Where did dogs come from? Who created dogs, right? Where did they come from? Why are they so significant in our culture, in our society? So that sent me down one loop as well. Um, and so this weekend, hanging out with some friends, this actually happened yesterday, where um we live in a city, right? We don't live out in the county somewhere where it's not like Mexico where you have a bunch of wild loose dogs. We live in an actual city. And um I was going to hang out with some of my friends, and on my way there, I was on the phone with one of them. She was hysterical because they had witnessed a dog get hit twice, like a small little puppy that really shouldn't have been out in the road, get hit twice and it died. And so it was traumatic to see that. But when I got over there with them, they started telling me about their day and how they saw like three other stray dogs in this kind of one little centralized area. Now, I never see stray dogs where I live. We live in the same city, just different neighborhoods. I never see stray dogs, but it it changed the whole agenda for our day yesterday, and we just ended up sitting, talking, and sharing stories and just sort of, I guess, healing from that experience. But in my head, I'm like, okay, why is this happening? Because I don't believe in coincidences at all. And the fact that I have been thinking and trying to decipher, the significance, the spiritual significance of dogs in our reality. So I still haven't figured it out or put everything together. But what I did do was begin searching. And so I was just thinking, like, okay, I need a book on this. That's my go-to is a book. And I hope I'm still coming through clear, you guys. Um, I need a book. I want to go, like, I'm gonna go look for a book. When I want to dig deeper into a topic, I want to find it in a book. And I was like, but I don't really have any books on, like, I don't have a lot on ancient history or like, I have the Great Cosmic Mother, but I was thinking, what can tell me about different gods and the significance of dogs? And so, anyways, something was like, just go to your bookshelf and start looking. Um, and this book, I was like, oh, I do have this book, but I don't know where I got this book from. I don't know. I think maybe it was a gift. So if you're watching this and you gave me this book as a gift, thank you. But it got lost in the sauce of my bookshelves. And so I don't really remember exactly when or where I got this book. I just have it. So I'm like, oh, this book might have something in it. And so I start flipping through. And y'all, wait, I kid you not. This is the first page that I flip to. And what do you see on this page? The first thing that jumps out at me on this page is Gilgamesh. I'm like, here we go with the Epic of Gilgamesh again. What is it? So I have never read the full Epic of Gilgamesh. Last Sunday, I did watch Billy Carson's video because it came out the same day that I mentioned it in my episode. And so I'm like, okay, I need to. So I watched it. And so I have the gist of the Gilgamesh story, but I need to really study it. So then it pops up again when I'm looking for I'm trying to figure out this whole dog um, God connection, right? Now I have a theory. I have a theory, but I'm going to look for the proof before I just tell y'all what my first eye, what my, we're going to start, we're going to start this going down this rabbit hole with what we find in the books, and then I'll tell y'all what my theory is. And then I don't know, maybe I'll start telling y'all my theories first, but okay. So anyways, this is the page that flip to. So imagine my just sheer excitement, like, okay, here we go. So I think that last night I was just so excited that, I call this star sense when stuff like this happens. And I actually have some receipts on that, but I'll have to share it with y'all later. I say that all the time too, by the way. I'm always saying what I'm gonna share with y'all later, so I'll get better. But so just to read a little bit, it says another episode in the Epic of Gilgamesh that carries overtones of the Genesis creation story is on table 11. After Gilgamesh encounters, okay, Noah, right? So Noah has another name, and discovers, excuse me, and discovers he cannot attain eternal life, he leaves dejected. But Utnapishtim feels sorry for him and decides to tell him about the location of a magic plant that is able to make one young again. Gilgamesh journeys to find the plant and then see what happens next. So we're going to have to dive into this story, right? The notion of the plant that rejuvenates and a serpent stealing the opportunity of renewed youth has long been connected to the Genesis account of the rejuvenating effect of the tree of life being withheld from Adam due to the serpent's deception. But they also both contain etiological explanations of snake biology. Genesis for the serpent crawling on its belly, and Gilgamesh for the snake shedding its skin. These echoes of Eden reaffirm the negative character of the serpent as one who spoils the opportunity for renewed life, not the positive agent of human maturity. Okay, so that story has more to do with where I'm going, but I also just want to talk about the author of this particular book. So this author is actually his name is Brian Godawa, and I Googled him and I Googled him. I read his Wikipedia. That's my equivalent to research. But he's written a lot of books. He's also a screenwriter. He makes movies and he's a Christian. Okay. So we have to read what he says through that lens that he considers himself a Christian. Okay. Um, so then I kind of went on just skimming through the book, right? Skimming through the book to see what else I might see, because I'm still looking for these dog and God connections. So I skimmed through the book, then I came across this page, okay? And you can see here I have some things highlighted. And at the top, so let's just look at the top. It says Dagon, someone named Dagon, had a strong presence in Mesopotamia and Syria, primarily as a storm god, spelled Dagon, and likened to the Babylonian weather god Enlil. The Syrians included Dagon in their pantheon at Ugarit, which was in Syria, but nowhere in Canaan. The Canaanite champion deity Baal is described throughout the Ugaritic texts as the son of Dagon, which made him an outsider to the family of gods ruled over by the high god El and his wife, Atherite, Asherah, the mother of the gods. So, do you guys remember last week when I read about Asherah? Okay. Asherah, the name Asherah appears 40 times in the Bible. So the Asherah is associated with the great cosmic mother. Okay. And then this last highlighted sentence on this page reads, archaeological discoveries of inscriptions in Israel have even confirmed the attempt of Israelites to syncretize Asherah into their religion as Yahweh's consort. And that is coming from Deuteronomy 16th chapter, 21st through the 22nd verse. All right. So what I gained from reading just this little bit were a few things. One being that, okay, this book, what I started to see about what's happening in this book is he's using the Old Testament to describe how Yahweh, which is the God of the Bible, the God of the Old Testament, came into the power that he came into over these other gods that the Israelites were worshiping. So when I was growing up in church, we were taught in the Old Testament that, God was there and that the Israelites were worshiping all of these idol gods, right? And I don't remember, my pastor going into detail about who all those idols were. I do remember one of them being mentioned, that was Baal. But what I'm starting to observe just from this book written by Brian Godawa is that he goes into depth about all of the different so-called idols that Yahweh wanted the Israelites to get rid of. Okay, to get rid of and to stop worshiping so that they would only worship him. Okay, one of those clearly being the Asherah, which was known as the mother of gods, right? According to this text. Now, according to our text from last week, which was the Great Cosmic Mother, written by Monica Saju and Barbara Moore, two women, they make connections of the Asherah to the goddess or the original God, the original creator, which was looked at in a feminine light. So what I learned from reading what I have read in the Great Cosmic Mother, that years prehistoric times, right? This is prehistoric times that God was looked at in a feminine light, or at the least, in the least, a feminine light, but probably more so is androgynous. Okay, androgynous, according to the Great Cosmic Mother. Okay, Mother Earth, Tiamat, Mother Nature, Neturu, Natur, all of those things. Mother Newt, right? Mother Newt, who we showed last week in the sky, the Great Cosmic Mother, the big split in the sky, the Milky Way. So prehistorically, God, okay, because we say, for the most part, we all say God, and we think that we're talking about the same God, right? We think that we're referring to the creator of all things. But what is coming to light is that, yes, in the Old Testament, many gods were there, and the Israelites were being led by Yahweh to move into just only worshiping him. But what I'm bringing to the conversation today is that even today, there are still many gods out there, right? Some of them have taken on the identity of other gods so that you can mistakenly worship them. This is what I'm getting at, okay? This book alone shows how, and this is going to be on the next few pages that I show, some instances pointed out by a Christian himself, how the text was used to basically usurp the energy from other gods and shifted towards Yahweh. Okay. So so then on this, which is just probably the page before this page, it says this supernatural power encounter between Yahweh and Dagon becomes then a super becomes then a spiritual polemic of warfare and conquest between gods. Okay. So it's necessary to understand this word right here, that P word, polemic. Okay. So I'm going to just Google it so that I can read what the definition of that word means. So polemic is a noun. It's a speech or piece of writing expressing a strongly critical attack on or controversial opinion about someone or something. Okay, so when it's used as a noun, that's what it means. When it's used as an adjective, it means expressing or constituting a strongly critical attack on or controversial opinion about someone or something. All right. So the author is saying that this story in the Bible, right? That describes this encounter between Yahweh and Dagon becomes a spiritual polemic. Okay, so it becomes a spiritual speech or piece of writing expressing a strongly critical attack on or controversial opinion about someone or something. Okay, of warfare and conquest between gods. So we have to look, this made me think about all of the writings. He's putting into context the way things were written in the Bible. So that's something to consider. Okay. So, then he goes on to say the meaning of the name Dagon is uncertain. Early scholarly interpreters argue that it came from the Hebrew word for fish. Thus, one tradition depicts him as a hybrid deity with the upper torso of a man and the lower bottom of a fish. So, this made me think about reptilians. Okay. And it made me think about that. But originally, when I laid my eyes on the term Dagon, what do you think of? You think Dogon, right? Or you think dog. And so just to go back to the page before where it says the Syrians included Dagon in their pantheon at Ugarit, which was in Syria, but nowhere in Canaan. So that's to be considered. But Canaan, right? Canaan, dogs are known as canines. So there is probably some connection there, but I would have to keep studying it to know, right? So, anyways, I keep reading and I see some significant things that I highlight. And I think I have some more. I think I have another page of excerpts. Well, maybe that's all the excerpts that I included. I think that's it. Oh, no, here it is. So I kept reading and then I came across this page. All right. And it's talking about aerials, right? Aerials. And that word is significant, right? Ariel, sometimes an angel's, right? There's an angel with the name of Ariel. I believe. So anyways, it talks about the ancient understanding of Ariel is a lion-like hybrid humanoid. Finds support in a later Nag Hammadi text that speaks of a Gnostic deity, Yaldabaoth, who was an Ariel. Ariel is what the perfect call him, but he was like a lion. So then it goes on to reference the dictionary of deities and demons in the Bible. But this is significant because it starts to talk about, the lion-like hybrids and then the lion goddesses, which might be connected to the Lyrians, right? The Lyrians. So I thought that that was interesting. And then, yeah, this is the page where, he actually talks about him being a filmmaker. Um, and he says, I'm a filmmaker. So I think in terms of movies, we need more storytellers to tell vampire stories from a Christian worldview, more zombie stories from a Christian worldview. And then he goes on to name examples of these types of films, which I agree. I agree with that. I really like the Book of Eli. Really like that movie. You know, he was amazing. He was amazing. And then we find out at the end that he was blind. And the reason why they were trying to kill him is because he was literally delivering an oral history. He was delivering oral history, or maybe sacred text or the Bible, right? Or perhaps the Book of Eli. So I really like that he included this in the read, because what is up with the takeover of zombies on, like, I feel like for the past decade, everything became zombie-ish. Like, what is up with that? What are they doing and why? Okay. But I like the term that he used here when he says more subversion of adultery, right? Instead of romanticizing adultery, right? Because that's what happens. It gets romanticized in programming. Fornication is romanticized. All of these basically bad things, right? Demonic things that send you in the opposite direction are being romanticized via the TV programming, the music programming. Okay. So that is what brings us to, you know, the summation of what I'm saying here. Okay. With the love versus lust. Okay. Love has been replaced in music with lust. So what I want to show next is the tree of life. All right. So I don't know how many years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I was reading and kind of studying Gnostic information and knowledge. And the Gnostic, so here's a definition, so we're just clear. Gnostic means relating to knowledge, especially esoteric mystical knowledge. Gnosticism is a collection of religious ideas and systems that coalesced in the late first century AD among Jewish and early Christian sects. These various groups emphasize personal spiritual knowledge about the proto-Orthodox teachings, traditions, and authority of religious institutions. All right. Then what does a Gnostic believe? For Gnostics, salvation could be achieved through knowledge and not through faith. Gnostic beliefs resemble dualism, which is the view that the universe is structured by two opposing forces, good and evil. The Gnostics believed that the material world was created, but they viewed the creator divinity as imperfect. Okay. So that's a little, summary of what Gnosticism is. Well, while I was just reading on what they believe and their viewpoints, I did read this short book called The Perfect Matrimony by Samuel Unweor is his name. But I found this quote and it summarized what I was trying to say. All right. So it says, in the region of light live the beings who adore each other. In the region of darkness live the souls who become inebriated with the chalice of lust and who, after getting drunk, spill the cup. Those souls are consumed in the fire of their own lust. The origin of all suffering is lust. By simple axiom, the origin of all happiness is love. These are opposed to each other. That is why love and lust, I should say, are 100% incompatible. They cannot be mixed ever. Okay. So looking at this, okay, so this quote, these photos came from this website. Let's see, and I included the link. Yeah, here's the link. So it came from this website called Glorian, which is a Gnostic site, just FYI. So the viewpoints is through that lens. So as we're talking about this, know that this is coming from a Gnostic lens, but I would like for you to compare this with your own common sense, okay? Your own common sense and um okay, so this might be better right here. Your own common sense. Ask yourself, do love and lust seem to be opposites to you? I see them as opposites. And it could be because I read and studied their stuff and maybe I see it that way, but I definitely see love and lust as opposites. When you look at the music, when you think about the music today, what's the vibe? Is it encouraging us to come together and love one another and get married and stay together and work through our issues? Or is it encouraging us to just desire each other sexually and want to have sex and just objectify women's bodies and I can just go on, right? You know what the music today does. And even the TV, like all the programming, like it's just a given now that sex is, I mean, I was just appalled by how many things I watched where just a regular TV show, they're having sex on the first date. They think they're in love and they have sex. It's like normal now on TV because that is where the program wants you to go. So I want to show this. All right. So this is the tree of life and it has Hebrew things on there. Okay. But the thing that I want to point out, and I wish I had like a marker. Oh, well, I don't really have a marker with this. So what I want you to see though is look at these dimensions behind these words. Okay. Look at these dimensions. Up at the top is the seventh dimension, also known as the crown, right? This is showing you a hierarchy of powers and principalities, and also I also see this as, in a way, soul's journey. So you have the crown that's up here in the seventh, then you got the sixth, the fifth, the fourth, the third, and then look what happens down here. At the very bottom. So up here, you've got like what? Thrones and dominions, cherubims, seraphims, dominions and powers and virtues, virtues and principalities, archangels, the Elohim, angels, immortals, okay? And then down here, Malkuth, it says kingdom underneath. And then you've got what looks to be a whole nother tree going the opposite direction. You guys see that? And then next to this, what does it say? Empty shells, devils, demons, asuras, whatever that is. And it says inverse fifth dimension. Okay. Now, on this next slide, I do a little close up so that you can see what's happening down here. So this is the Malkuth blown up, which is associated with the inverted fifth dimension. And look at what is characterized by this section. Conditioned consciousness, ego, desire, defects, vices, pride, lust, anger, laziness, greed, gluttony. Doesn't that sound like the seven sins or something like that? Most of those are actually they actually correspond with the opposite of each chakra. So like your seven chakras, when they're reversed or when they're off balance, these are the fruits of those when they go in the opposite direction. So I have without this as a context, even as a little girl, I always saw myself as going in one of two directions. Either I was being good, doing what's right, and moving up towards heaven, or if I do something wrong or if I'm being bad, then that's sending me down in the opposite direction, you know, towards hell. So all this to just further show the actions, the energies that send you in a particular direction versus the actions that send you in another. And it's always our choice. But we also have to stand back and ask, if we just take this world and look at this world, we look at society, we look at what's happening in this world, we look at the dominant programming that's coming through music, that's coming through TV, what direction is it sending you? Okay. It's clear that the programming, whoever's doing it, that's another question, right? But the programming is clearly sending folks and trying to steer society in an inverted direction. That's clear. And so the question is, who's in charge? Who's responsible? And why is it allowed to be happening? Why is it okay? If you're American, um, what is it, our Constitution that talks about under God? If our Constitution states being under God, our Pledge of Allegiance states one nation under God. What God are they talking about? Because clearly they need to be a lot better if they're talking about the God of love. That's what I'm gonna start saying, like the God of love. When I say God, because that's the God I'm talking about. The God of love. what God are they talking about? And it makes you wonder and think like, who's really in charge? What's really going on behind the curtain? You know? So, yeah, all of this, all of that. Now back to TLC. So TLC, I felt like there was an era of music, especially with our R&B, where it was love centered. Even though it was so-called secular music, it encouraged love, togetherness, working things out, staying together, forgiving. Yes, there was a lot of lamenting and singing about the struggles, but there was still a longing and a desire to be with the one that you loved, not with the one you lusted. So this is what my first eye has revealed to me. So there is a very popular musician by the name of Usher. And Usher played a very significant role, and he symbolizes something. Okay. He symbolizes the ushering in of a change, a shift. Okay. So let's just think symbolically, not him in and of himself, right? Because we don't know. I don't know him. I don't know his life like that. I only know what's on TV, right? So symbolically, we're looking at the names and what this represents. So let's chart this back out. So TLC, they've been out for a while. I believe that Baby 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 came out in 94. And this picture here of TLC, I believe, is a picture from Baby 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 video, and it was about 1994. So they're making music, they're doing their thing. Left Eye is still Left Eye, right? So 1997, Usher comes on the scene with My Way, right? Usher says, we're gonna do it his way in 97. Okay. 2001, he starts dating Chilli, right? He starts dating Chilli in 2001, and it was all over media because they were a popular couple. She was a little bit older than him, right? But everybody was happy and excited to see them together. And it seemed as though they were in love, right? So they started dating in 2002, 2001, right? So they started dating. In 2002 is when Left Eye dies. Left Eye is in Honduras with Dr. Sebi. Everybody knows she was down there in Honduras with Dr. Sebi, and she got killed in a car wreck. So we lost the L for love. We lost the ability to see the left, this connection, this holism with the right and the left, the ability to see. She dies. And Chilli and Usher are still dating during this time. But what happens in 2003? Then the year after Left Eye dies. This man blows up off Confessions album, where he's basically telling you what happened in his relationship with Chilli. We liked Usher. He was popular. Okay. 2001, I believe, his 8701 album came out. He goes on tour. So he's growing, he's getting bigger, he's spreading his energy. Okay. He's dating Chilli because it's popular. He kind of goes to his next level by the time when 2003 came, because that album, Confessions, I mean, I still every now and then turn that album on because it's got some good songs on there. And matter of fact, this is the year my daughter was born. And my ex was like, Usher dropped a song called Confessions, and I just want to confess to you too. So yeah, he my ex did his own confessions in 2003 about what he been doing. He had been doing, which was basically the end of our relationship. The beginning of the end of our relationship. And we know how the story goes from 2003 onward, right? Usher just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, he starts collabing with um, Lil Jon, Ludacris, and then this whole coming together of like R&B with like more rap artists started happening. And so, not to say that Usher creates degrading music himself, but I'm just speaking in terms of the symbolically that he represents an ushering in of this new era of music because that's when the shift happened. That's when it started happening, as revealed through the way that I'm saying things. Okay. So we're getting ready to wrap this up because I don't know how long I've been live, but I'm almost done. So that was Usher. And so we know that Left Eye was down there with Dr. Sabi. So Dr. Sabi, we all know, rest in peace, Dr. Sabi. Rest in power, rise in power, Dr. Sabi, and giving thanks for all that Dr. Sabi brought us. I want to talk about, so she's down there basically getting the scoop on healing and herbs and trying to heal an ailment within her body. And so she's there and she got killed down there. So from this point, I want to sort of bring this back together, but I want to now this connects to the book again. So I was flipping through the book and came across this. It says in more recent years, Gerald Aardsma has offered the biblical theory that the Exodus occurred in 2450 BC, nearly 1,000 years earlier than the conventional dates of 1445 BC or 1225 BC. Excuse me. Okay, who is this man that says that, okay, wait a minute, things are 1,000 years off? Now, this stood out to me because yesterday I was listening to a Seer Duke of Tears, and he mentioned this at the gathering of the masses. So if you were there at the gathering of the masters, if you were there at that event or you watched the replay, you know what I'm talking about. He mentions that the dates are off by 1,000 years. So this was like, whoa, okay, I just heard somebody say this the day before, and now this doctor is saying that. So I Googled this guy. Gerald, and he's a doctor, and I think I included the website. No, it's actually on my iPad. So let me switch screens and then we're gonna wrap this up. Um, all right. Let me see if it's gonna share correctly. Screen. And then we're gonna wrap this up. Um, all right. So this is him. Let's listen to him.
Well, it's because aging is actually a disease. There are, of course, all kinds of different diseases. We had to find an explanation for how it would be possible for people's lifespans to change with time. Back before the flood, lifespans were over 900 years.
Okay, so let's pause that. Did y'all hear what he just said? He just casually, back before the flood. So I'm gonna just go back a little bit and let that play again.
Had to find an explanation for how it would be possible for people's lifespans to change with time. Back before the flood, lifespans were over 900 years on average, and then after the flood, the lifespans declined over the course of about 1,000 years, down to what we know of as being normal today, down to about 75 years on average. And how can we explain that such a thing, how could it happen? There have been several attempts to explain this by different people, but all of them run into serious problems somewhere along the line. The explanation which works is that aging is a vitamin deficiency disease. So like scurvy, if you don't get the vitamin C that you need, you will eventually die of scurvy. If we stop giving you vitamin C when you're 20 years old, you will die shortly thereafter, maybe within 1 or 2 years anyhow. If we stopped giving everybody vitamin C when they were 20 years old, then it would appear that the whole population was aging, or at least getting sick and dying by the time they were 24 years old, say. And so
right,
the
keep
same
listening.
sort of thing is what has happened with what we call aging. There is a vitamin which was previously unknown, which we all need, and which none of us is getting. Before the flood, people were getting it, and they were living very much longer as a result, because they were not dying of this disease, vitamin deficiency disease, which we now call aging. After the flood, the vitamin became less and less available in the environment. People weren't getting it, and so they were dying at younger and younger ages because of this disease.
All right.
The vitamin is not a miracle cure. It is just a vitamin. And the thing about
So I think I'm going to stop there, because basically this man has created a supplement for this vitamin. So let's back up for a minute. This author, right? The author from the book mentioned this man, Dr. Gerald Ardsma, in the book. So this man is not only he is not only just, first of all, let me just Google him, okay? That way y'all can see. Here he is. Okay. So this is him. All right. So this man has degrees in physics from the University of whatever that is, and a PhD in nuclear physics. Okay. And then, he does work he's worked in the newly founded field of accelerator mass spectrometry. All right, a field which is now widely employed for radiocarbon and other rare isotope dating methods. So this guy has a background in physics and radioisotopic dating. So that's what he does. But then this is the other part. Dr. Ardsma is not only a physicist and a chronologist, he is also a conservative Christian. His research reflects a high view of both the scientific and the biblical data bearing on any question. Dr. Ardsma has presented his work on biblical chronology at both scientific and theological conferences. Okay. So that's just very interesting that, you know, this man is referenced in this book, right? So he probably knows his stuff, right? So I was like, okay, well, now I'm interested in what this, and sorry, y'all, these are my notes. I'm interested in exactly what this vitamin is. And so I did some Googling, and well, the name of his vitamin is just called the vitamin. But, anyways, I found this letter from the FDA written to him. And so he received this notification concerning a new dietary ingredient. So he started marketing this anti-aging vitamin, whatever it is, and he's not really saying what what's the vitamin that was present before the flood and that's not present anymore that we used to all get. Now, I have my theories. I'm like, well, is it gold? Is it, that was the first thing that came to mind. Like, is it gold? But he never says, probably because, I don't know, it's probably against the law to say. He's trying to be, obviously, he's trying to get his stuff, okayed through the FDA. So there's only so much we can say, right? Which connects back to Dr. Sebi. We know what he's about and we know why he was a target. Okay. So there's people out here with information. And so this is something that we got to start paying attention to. Nutrition is vital. Proper nutrition is vital, especially for you to be what the Creator God intended you to be as a human being. We're not at our, we're not operating at capacity. So that's another conversation. So back to the calls it MEPA. And then they go on, they all go on. And they basically say that, you know, they can't say that it's not, and they can't say that it is, right? So, because it says in any event, where is that part? In any event, you are not prohibited from submitting a new pre-market notification. So I just thought it was interesting that I did a Google and immediately found this letter. So then I kept Googling and I found something else. So the next thing I found was information on this new dietary ingredient, MEPA. So if anybody has heard of this or knows what this is, but I haven't read everything, but I got this from the internet. I don't know. I think I just put in MEPA and this came up. So it connects back to the flood, y'all. It connects back to these stories that we hear from Billy Carson talking about, you know, what nutrient, what was here that people were getting before the flood because people did used to live a long time. And why did that stop happening? Right? They talk about the flood being, on purpose or like orchestrated. So I don't know, I don't know. This is where my this is where I'm gonna keep going down the rabbit hole to see what else I can figure out. But this is kind of where the story ends for today. And so I will leave you with this. Okay. This is, you can see it on my screen, but this is was, what was, what came to me. This came to me, this term came to me in a dream right here. And I'm trying to write, see if it's going to let me. That phrase, those two words right there. So I'm still investigating to figure out exactly what that is. Maybe it is gold. I don't know. So clear channels or true divinity, and oh, we can be clear channels for true divinity. How do we become clear channels? You have to do the work of, you have to do your soul's work. You have to do your soul's work. You have to do the work of your chakras. Okay. You've got to get clear. You've got to get nutrition. You've got to get nourished. And so wherever that is for you, that's where you need to start. Start to get nourished and get your nutrients up and clean and clear your body up so that your body is a clear vehicle and it can receive signals and it can receive as best as possible, and then it can produce as it needs to. All right. So please, if you gain something, please like this video. I've not been saying that, but I realized I need to say that for YouTube. Please like this video. Please comment. You guys let me know, your thoughts, opinions. Share this. And also check out the other channels. Okay, so tomorrow is Monday. What happens on Monday? I will probably be sharing more from the book club. All right, so if you're joining us in the book club, yay. All right, so I have another excerpt to send, but I'll be sending out some journal prompts. With the book club, we're using a book to do the work of the first two chakras right now. So we're using the book called Belonging, Remembering Ourselves Home, which does provide guidance on completing and feeling whole in the sense of belonging, which I believe to be the work of the lower two chakras. Okay. So doing the work of your wheels is what will propel you forward in the right direction, in the forward direction, right? In the upward and the higher directions and dimensions. When you're working in the opposite of those energy centers, you're going the opposite direction. Okay, we know what's down there, right? And if you want to be down there, that's on you. That's your choice, but I don't think that many of us do. Okay, so that is my message for today. Let's see. I think I've definitely been on here for an hour. But I said everything I needed to say. So again, please like, please share, please subscribe if you haven't. Let me know your thoughts, opinions, questions in the comments. Where would you like to see me go next in this investigation? Are we going to be looking into what LL is? Are we going to be looking into more of this author, um, more of what's in this book, When Giants Were Upon the Earth? Or should we actually read the Epic of Gilgamesh since it comes up every week? Maybe we should read the Epic of Gilgamesh. Or should we pick back up with the God-dog connection, which I know I put this on the screen, but I didn't read it. So this book is where it talks about the symbolism of the dog. And so I did read that, and there's a lot of stuff in there, and it'll be a pretty significant research and to see the connections between God and dog. All right, so thank you for listening and sitting with me if you stayed with me this far. And I will see you next time. Until then, affirmatively, may your week be filled with wellness. May our week be filled with, well, let's say strong. May our strong be filled with wellness, wholeness, serenity, prosperity, abundance, safety, and protection. May we be guided and guarded by our highest ancestors. May we be guided and guarded by our highest ancestors. And may we be connecting with our truest, highest divinity. All right, until next time, this is Universe.